Rod Brooks can help us figure out what happened. NBC Sports 49er analyst. How about it, Rod Brooks? What are you Talanoa Hufanga? You surprised at maybe a smattering of booze last night?
You know what? It was probably some self-loathing Raider fans and a couple of Philly haters. That's all that is.
Yeah.
That's all that, just some North Philly haters out there. Bad vibes.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Hold on. Before we go on, Rod, let me say, you do a fantastic job on the pre- and post-game there at NBC Sports Bay Area. I've only watched 7 post-games this season, all of them after the losses,
yeah.
So
saw that coming, yeah.
but you and Dante, y'all do a great job, man. I'm like, I got to see what these guys say after this loss. So another great job by you this past weekend, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. We are very fortunate to work in this market, and I'm including Sacramento because, hey, man, Sac and Bay, we have our disagreements at times, but it's all love here in Northern California. But it's so much fun to work at NBC Sports Bay Area in California. And, man, to cover these teams, dog, these jobs are coveted. They're precious. And the people we talk to about their teams, I know me personally, and Drake, I'm sure it's the same for you, man. It's a responsibility I take very seriously, dog, because these are people that are opening their minds, their hearts to us to talk about their team, man. And I don't look at that as something that's just sort of flippant and, oh, man, it's me on TV, man. It's serious business in my world.
Rod, as you were answering that question, I was just imagining if you and Drapes switched positions, and Rod obviously be great doing a Kings game, but you would be, hey, 49er fans.
Nah,
what happened?
Hey, as our caller Will says, I know where my bread is buttered. You know what I mean? I have become the biggest Brock Purdy fan there is, man. Come on now.
Oh. Hey, Rod, I want to see if you agree with George Kittle, who, as I'm sure you know, he said, look, our 2 biggest problems this year, turnovers and red zone failures. Do you agree with him?
They're not good enough for a variety of reasons. Number one, the injuries to key players, but they're not good enough to overcome. And what I love that they do, but now it's almost gallows humor, so you have to laugh at it. Is when they turn the ball over in the red zone. Well, come on, dog!
I know.
I tell you what. How about we take our 2 biggest problems, and we mash them together so everybody can see that. Man. And, and it goes a little bit deeper than that, man. They can't stop the run, and I've been talking about that all season long. I mean, just keeping it funky, going back to the game against Arizona at Levi's, man, where they let James Conner get loose just enough in the second half, I believe, in the fourth quarter specifically. They've had problems stopping the run all year long. They've just happened to run across 2 teams in Green Bay and Buffalo who are very good at running the ball and has exploited a problem that they've had all season long. So it's become magnified. The problems that Brock Purdy has had, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that guys he used to throw to aren't there for injury reasons. Guys aren't getting open, aren't getting separation anymore. And I think the way they go about protecting Brock Purdy, I think has had a lot to do with his issues, and some of his issues are caused by himself, but just the issues they've had in terms of throwing the ball. But, getting back to the main problems, the red zone, they can't run the ball in the red zone. That's been a problem year long. We just happen to see it now on bigger stage with bigger circumstances this day.
Right here, they sit 5-7, 5 games left to go. Is this sort of an audition for a lot of guys, whether it's, not necessarily an audition for Garendo, but, because we know he's going to be here, but an opportunity for guys, especially with all these injuries, to make their case why they should be a big part of what this team does going forward?
No, absolutely. And that's why I think this whole idea or they should sit guys want to, and they should tank. I find it to be, quite frankly, a childish conversation because you still have a chance, and they have a chance, a very slim one. But if you still have a chance to make the playoffs, if you're healthy enough to play like Fred Warner is, even though he's got a broken bone in his ankle, then you have to play, and he's going to play. Guys like Guendo and Patrick Taylor, who they brought up, off the practice squad because of the injuries to Mason and McCaffrey at running back. Guys like that and say, hey, man, I got a chance to go out here and help this team win. My job. I'm not worrying about we got to get a better draft pick. Well, I might not be on this team next year. So why am I worried about what they're going to do in the distant future? The most important thing is right now. So if you're Isaac Guendo, you've already proven if you get carries, you can operate in that zone blocking run scheme. And as he's gotten more carries over the course of the year, he's gotten better at that. If you go back and look at Isaac Guendo's first couple of carries, he was not about that life.
Yeah.
Once he got into double-digit carries, all of a sudden he got more comfortable and he was able to use that burst and use that speed. Where he's got to be better now, and this is what he needs to put on tape for his current employer, the Niners. He's got to show that he can be adept at picking up the blitz. He's got to show that he can help out in protecting Brock Purdy, because that's also a running back's priority, and his job is to make sure that if you got to pick up somebody that's coming at the 30 to 40 to maybe $60 million man, you got to be about that life and picking up the blitz. So, yeah, I think that what thing about the Niners and what has been proven, young players they drafted last year have helped them win the 5 games that they've won this year. So the future looks bright in that regard. This is a chance for those guys to say that while this has not been the season that everybody wanted, they could be a part of whatever rebuild comes in the future in 2025.
Rod, the Brock Purdy nonsense continues, and with the team losing, it's even devolving into something more freakish. I saw in FS1 today, there was a debate about whether all the 49ers problems can be blamed on Brock Purdy. And I've seen on Twitter, the talk of, Shanahan's going to go get Kirk Cousins. So putting that aside, does his shoulder injury in any way complicate, in your view, his offseason contract situation?
Nah, listen, it seems to me that it's a shoulder injury that has something to do with affecting his ability to throw the ball. I don't know exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
To the best of my knowledge, the information that I've gathered on and off the record, it doesn't seem like this is something that is going to take away arm strength or take away his ability to drive the ball downfield. So your first problem, quite frankly, is watching them shows on FS1.
It was just on. I was in a room and it was on. That's all.
I was at the gym. What do you want me to do?
Right.
No, I'm just being a wise guy. I do think that those shows are just sound and theory signifying nothing. They got content that they got to push. So whatever. You're better off with Brock Purdy than you are without him. The ups and downs he's had this season, ultimately that falls on him. Well, what have people been saying? Well, he's been holding on the ball too long. That's because guys can't get open. Well, he's been running around maybe a little bit too much. Well, that's because guys aren't getting open, and that's because his protection is not doing the job that needs to be done. And it's not his fault that he's leading the team in rushing touchdowns with 4. If Christian McCaffrey had been healthy and played all season long, that wouldn't have been the case. If Kyle Shanahan had not put Jordan Mason on the shelf, who had 3 touchdowns before he got injured, then Jordan Mason would have had more than Brock Purdy. I find the criticism of, you don't think he's worth $60 million, fine. I don't think he's going to get $60 million, just from a standpoint of, I believe that he and the Niners are going to come to an understanding in the contract that will be beneficial to both parties. I don't think he's going to take significantly less. I also don't think he's going to break the bank. But this idea that they would be better off without him, or for some reason he's not up to the task. They went to the Super Bowl last year, man. They went to the NFC Championship game 2 years ago, and if he doesn't get hurt, the outcome, maybe it wouldn't have been different, but it wouldn't have been as lopsided as it was for the Eagles. This dude came in an emergency situation when Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt and immediately made the offense better. And now here we are in 2024 with literally everything crumbling around the Niners. And you want to point and go, this guy's the problem? Come on, dog. That's nonsense. Like I said, I think the conversation about Brock Purdy and the conversation about Kyle Shanahan, should they trade him to the Bears and should they get a better, they could get a better coach. This is not to say that you can't do better than Kyle Shanahan, but it's thinking that you could do better than Kyle Shanahan immediately. Like you could just go and just get somebody like Joe Brady, right? Like it doesn't work that way. So this is what happens when you're 5-7. You have not only have you not met expectations, you have gone far below expectations, and people just lose their minds. And to say that Brock Purdy, you'd be better without him, I can't take you seriously. Not you guys, obviously, but I can't take you seriously when you say that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, next week we'll talk about a win. Then we'll be talking about a victory next week.
I mean, maybe. I don't know about that.
If they don't beat Chicago, man, hang it up.
No. Listen, you're right. But you guys know the deal, man, and it happens in sports. It happens in basketball. It happens a lot in football. When there's a midseason coaching change, what happens?
Yeah.
All of a sudden now, cats on that team.
Yeah. We saw that with the Raiders last year, right? Yeah.
We saw it with the Raiders last year. I got to put on for the interim coach. The interim coach is like, I'm going to coach my tail off because I need to show that I'm the dude for this job or an upcoming job. And so credit to the Bears. They do have a good defense. But the Niners, man, they're just, and this is no excuse. Hey, man, nobody feels sorry for you at all. But the injuries that they've suffered, I mean, to me, that's the number one that they've dealt with all year long. But hey, man, it's the NFL. Them's the breaks. Don't nobody care. Line it up.
Thanks, Rob. We appreciate it. We'll see you on TV, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, fellas. Y'all be good.
All right, Rob.
Thank you. When we come back, Jay wants to ask you about your Mike Brown, Malik Monk as a starter take.
Ooh, Jay.
Is that all right with you?